So, this is a new thing. I have one of my friends here to join me in a discussion of the new DBZ game coming out.
Hello there, I'm Niels. I'm a DBZ fan and not American, so bear with me as I try to make myself comprehensible.
And for the sake of completeness, I'll introduce myself. You know me as Omega, but my name's actually Ian. The game in question is, of course, Dragon Ball Xenoverse. While currently there are lots of details of this game unknown, there certainly is enough to talk about. First, let's go over some of the things said in a recent interview. Possible good news for all you PC gamers, the producer of the game said they might, remember, might, port it over to PC if there is enough interest. So if you want this game on PC, make your voice heard. The more interest they see, the more likely it will get ported. Now let's go over to the other parts of that same interview. They said the hub city, Toki Toki City, would be used to invite people to battles as well as co-op battles. How do you think this will play out?
Well, it really depends. I think if when they're talking about co-op battles, I'm getting the impression that maybe we get the option to what kind of like with the last Dragon Ball Z game. What was it called again?
Battle Z.
Oh yeah, Battle of Z, where you team up with people from all over the world to complete a single mission. I'm thinking maybe you can do that then with two-on-two battles, but of course this is just speculation. Yeah, well, from what they told in the interview, I'd say you can see other people there and challenge them to battles and form parties, but yeah, I'm not quite sure what that means.
The thing I found pretty funny, and again from the same interview with the same producer and everything, they were asked a question whether this game will be more like Battle of Z or the Tenkaichi series, and they said it focused. They didn't really want to commit to one game or the other, of course, because they're trying to say
Yeah, because
it's
they
it's
made
our own
tech.
game. We're not copying someone else and things like that. But anyway, the thing that was funny is they said it was focusing more on 1v1 battles and not team battles. So you're sitting there talking about co-op battles and then saying things focus more on 1v1. I mean, these kind of things can happen in interviews. It's just, the nature of interviews. You don't really know exactly what questions are going to come up all the time and exactly how to answer them, especially when you're going through a translator. Um,
Mm. But it does make you wonder how well would the co-op battle be worked out.
it does make you wonder how co-op will work. I mean, is it really going to be like Battle of Z where both of you are fighting at the same time, or is it going to be like how it was before where you'd have to tag in? And of course, if it's co-op with tag, that's pretty lame if you're the person who's waiting to be tagged in.
Yeah, I mean we've had a co-op game before with Tenkaichi Tag Team for the PSP, but I've never played that. But it seemed to work all right. It seemed to look a lot like a few of the preview shot of the screenshots we've seen, because there are a few in which you see two-on-two battles, I think, or two-on-one battles.
Well, of course, the problem with the screenshots is since none of them were shown with a HUD or something, you gotta wonder are these cutscenes, promotional images, or actual in-game footage.
Yeah, that's true.
That's the problem with looking at early cutscenes. I mean, early screenshots of games is you kind of don't know if it's actually gameplay or just something they made to help hype the game. Um,
Yeah. Hmm.
but yet the Hub City thing. Getting back to that real quick, it's it does make you kind of wonder how it's gonna work. I mean, is it gonna
It
be
makes
like
MMO
in?
or something.
Is it gonna be like Is it gonna be? I mean, is it gonna be like when you're going through the story, something that you go through anyway? So, or is there gonna be like so basically, is there like a single player equivalent to it, or if you're going through the story, do you go into the city basically?
Yeah, have you played Fantasy Star Online 2?
Not two, but I have played the first one.
Okay. Actually, maybe the first one is maybe even a better example, but in that you can pretty much just make a team there in the hub city and then go to your separate missions. that you can at the counter there. I don't know how often you use that, but I think it might be something like that, where you can either just go at it single player and then maybe someone from the original story tags in, like Goku or whoever. And if you go with a friend into the mission, then you just take two custom created characters and use those to take on the mission.
But if it works like that, that'd be pretty good then. Because then either way, you'd be getting. You don't feel like you're really getting cheated if you're playing by yourself, because you'd still have, the characters from the series with you, which would still be pretty cool.
Yeah, at least that's what I make out of it because the whole part with the party that confuses me because calling a two people team a party, I mean, I guess it technically could be, but when you're talking about a party, you imagine something bigger, like you're actually making a team of four people.
Well, there's speculation out there that the game will support 3 people on a team, so up to 3v3 battles in that case.
Okay. All right, with the screenshot of
Yeah,
Go and right.
yeah. Um, Again, just want to stress here, none of this is confirmed before you start thinking this shows. It's basically if you haven't seen the screenshot, we'll fill you in. It's someone took a screenshot from the demo they did with the Goku versus Vegeta fight. I don't We don't even know what build that fight was taken from. They took that and then looked where Goku's face was picked, and then noticed that there would be area for more characters there, and they just sort of photoshopped, copy and pasted Goku's thing, and it fits 6 times. So that's where they got 3v3 from.
Okay. I thought you were actually referring to the screenshot of Goku Piccolo and the custom character versus Raditz.
No, but that's another one. But that goes back to our screenshot before, cutscene, promotional image.
Oh, of course, of course. Because
Um,
that as well have been just Goku and the new guy and Piccolo just charging his special beam cannon in the background.
or you fight them one at a time, like how tag team worked in like Raging Blast and stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Possibility.
so I guess what we can say for sure is there will be some form of co-op. What form it takes place in is still to be decided, though. But it does seem like this hub city, which another way it might work is when you go into the online mode, instead of like going in to like, create lobby or things like that, you might just go to this city and then you wander around looking for people or something. That would be a little chaotic. um, so, a lot of these things is going to come down to.
Maybe in like in the first Naruto game, because I haven't actually played that one, but it does have a city to walk around in.
Well, that didn't have online though.
No, I get that, but maybe like the
So,
same because you were like looking up people in order to do missions, right? Or
yeah. So, maybe, but you obviously can't fit every single person who plays online in the same city because if you have the city's not going to be able to render like 100,000 people,
that would be pretty chaotic.
and then you wouldn't be able to find anything. So
You'd see, no, you would be. You'd see giant crowds around Trunks and all of the important story characters.
So that's another thing to think about. How will this work? And if you're trying to specifically play with a friend, how would you find them if there's no like matchmaking either?
Well,
So
then we're talking.
I'm not trying to raise alarms and saying this whole hub city thing is a bad idea, but I'm certainly holding off on getting too excited about how it's going to work before I actually see it in action and the details of how it works and everything.
It's definitely something new, so we don't really have a basis for comparison on this one.
Yeah, the best we have is going to other games that have things like hub cities, which mostly go to MMOs. So we're getting a little MMO in our game, in our new DBZ game, apparently.
That might not be a bad thing per se.
Like most features, it depends how it's implemented. Of course. So this goes on to the next big topic of this game, which is really the biggest thing we know about of this game at the time. And when you go into this hub city, apparently you do it with your created custom character. And of course, that's the big thing right now. Um, we've had a little taste of this before with Ultimate Tenkaichi, but anyone who's played Ultimate Tenkaichi and used the character creator knows exactly how much was left to be desired in that character creator.
I was so excited for that, but then I tried it and yeah, no.
I will say that, I've made a review on Ultimate Tenkaichi. I don't know how much my opinion has changed over the years, but there were some good things in that game. It wasn't completely bad.
It was
Certainly
pretty.
the custom character thing certainly helped elevate it to being more entertaining than it probably would have been without it. But anyway, separate topic. Getting back to Xenoverse.
Yeah.
Do you want to cover what we do know about it?
We do know about it. Well, I was just looking up the article that we first got on it, and pretty much what we have confirmed is that there will be three different races, which are humans, Namekians, and Majin, which are like the Boo people. And of those races, at least, well, I imagine the Namekians really won't be getting a female version, but the Earthlings and the Majin people, they will be. So different genders, different races, and as from the screenshots, you could say there's a lot of different styles of costumes. Because if you can remember in the Ultimate Tenkaichi game, a lot of the costumes were just the costumes that the normal the canon characters have. But in this, you have a lot more variety. Just things that you haven't seen anyone wear in the series, basically.
Yeah, so that was one of the things I liked about it. First of all, of course, Namex won't have separate genders because Namex are basically confirmed asexuals, so
Yeah,
they
I
don't even
know.
have gender. Um, but yeah, one of the things I liked about the character creator was, of course, the genders are nice. And in case anyone is wondering, we've already seen a screenshot of a female Super Saiyan. It's the female character with golden hair. I mean, really, what are people expecting? It's not
We even have a
groundbreaking design.
same batch of screenshots. Not even sure if the same screenshot, but
It's well, you can see that it's the. I guess the picture is a little small, but they're wearing the same outfit that the female character is wearing, and
yeah, it's pretty clear it's supposed to be the
yeah,
second character.
I don't know why you would possibly tease people like that, and also it would make no sense. It's nice to see it, but it's kind of one of those things where when they confirmed female characters, we knew it was coming because why else? I mean, what are you gonna do? You made a female character, you can't turn Super Saiyan. That wouldn't work well.
Yeah, you get a big backlash of that.
Yeah. So, but anyway, one of the things I really liked about it was how they actually did make separate outfits for the created characters, which will help make them more unique as opposed to just a hodgepodge of the actual characters from the show.
Yeah, that will really help. I mean, when you look at the female Boo character, for example, like she has something that resembles hair in the form of the Boo head tentacles,
Yeah. She's got like
and it looks
bangs.
pretty cool, but it's different.
So the other thing that we managed to confirm, this was rather recently, within the last few days, was they showed that you'll be able to change skin color of characters too.
Oh, right, they showed that. It was with the Nappa-looking guy.
Who also had a larger body type than the other character, so that's sort of another confirmation we
Yeah,
can
that
see.
really makes me wonder what other kind of body types we're going to get, because one of the screenshots showed like a schoolgirl kind of Saiyan, well, human type character
That was released with the announcement of the creator.
of the character,
Yeah.
yes, but I'm not sure if that's like the usual human body type for women or maybe like a more childlike version. It's a bit hard to say at this point.
The other one, though, the red-haired one, the red-haired female human in the recent scans looks a little older, but that could have something to do with the clothing and facial features and other things like that. So, um, also when it comes down to the other thing is when it comes down to these options like, the character body type and size and stuff, you wonder, is the size going to be like how it is in Ultimate Tenkaichi where you pick it's like, you just have like a set number of body types you pick from, or is there going to be like a height slider?
Yeah, that does make me wonder because what I remember and how much it limits create custom creation because in Ultimate Tenkaichi you had where large body characters could they had only had like a few fighting styles to pick from and a
Yeah,
few moves, while the medium characters just had all the fun stuff.
yeah. Because it was basically limiting you to. It wasn't just the fighting styles, it was also, I think, the outfits too, a bit, wasn't it?
I think the outfits they were universal, I think.
Okay. I'd have to load it up to refresh my memory. But yeah, I definitely remember the special moves for the medium character. Huge list, almost everything you could want. Then you got the small and the large characters, little tiny list, not even like a scroll bar for the ultimates. It was basically just like make a medium-sized character or you're not getting anything interesting. That
Yeah.
pretty much killed your desire to make anything besides a medium-sized character. Um, I'm going to go ahead and guess they're not going to be that stupid this time.
Oh, I hope so because I want to make a character, but I remember when I booted up Ultimate Tenkaichi, the first thing I wanted to do was make a big character because I have one of my own custom characters who is just kind of a big guy. But when I tried that, it took forever to unlock different moves for him, and they weren't even that interesting.
I
It
think
was just
I think you're basically limited to like Broly, some moves
Nappa
from
16.
you had some moves from BoJack, I think too, some like leftover moves from Raging Blast 2.
Yeah, yeah, that was weird too, how they took out the characters but left in the moves, and it was a weird game altogether. But
Yeah, yeah, it was. But the other big thing we heard today, again going back to the interview, was they confirmed that characters will have some sort of leveling up system. Now, the important thing here was the first of all, the audio. I feel like mentioning this. The audio on the interview was pretty bad, so it was hard
really
to.
don't hear what they were saying.
It was hard to hear what the question was exactly, and some of the answers were hard to hear. So this isn't helping the confusion around this. Also, of course, the producer didn't want to go into heavy details about the game because, of course, people always get angry at them, but it's still in development. You don't want to sell people on something that you end up finding out you have some issue and you can't include later because then people will get mad at you. If you're wondering why game developers don't give you a lot of details until the game's close to coming out, that's why. They want to make sure the system that they want is finished, or they're for sure they can finish it before they sell you on the idea that it will be in the game. So, don't get too hard on the people in the interviews being vague in their answers because the truth of the matter is they probably haven't. They have a plan, but it hasn't been implemented, and you don't want to tell people when it's not implemented.
The alternative is pretty much just getting vague comments about how Half-Life 3 is confirmed, and then we're getting it.
So, but anyway, going back to the interview, it was hard to see. It was hard to tell if they just meant custom characters or all characters will have a level up system. Um, if you recall, Ultimate Tenkaichi had a level up system, but it was only for the custom characters. So that's important to know that there's a distinction between them. Because I think one of the draws of actually having a custom character actually is starting off really weak, like starting off Raditz is stronger than you, and then building up to being this really strong Super Saiyan at the end. You agree?
Yes, uh, I definitely agree. It's one of the things that I really like about Budokai 3, which is also a DIMS game. It makes me wonder, like, how if this system is going to be similar to that, because it's sounding somewhat similar, although of course we don't know which stats we could increase. Uh,
Well, your basic
uh,
stats would be your health, defense, your key attack, your
yeah,
physical
you're
attack.
get those at least.
So, yeah, it's of course best case scenario is you have leveling up for everyone because, well, that gives you the most customization and the most fun to play around with.
Mhm.
And it is true that Dimps is really the only. Budokai 3 is pretty much the only game that's had an actual level up system. There have been other games that have sort of had half ones. I think Tenkaichi 2 had one, but the thing in that game where I make it distinct from Budokai 3 was the items leveled up, not the characters. So once you got an item leveled up, you could equip it on anyone.
I remember that. That was a long time ago.
Yeah, those are basically the only real level up systems we've had, outside of RPG games. But those are on handheld kind of side games, not main
That
console games.
also makes me wonder, will we see a comeback of capsules?
Yes, that's one of the things about if you wanted to have one of, well, I shouldn't necessarily say this, but in terms of customizing, one of the things that was nice about Budokai 3 was not only the levels, but also then you could enhance your level, how you were leveling up based on the items you equipped. Issues with the Budokai 3 item system aside,
We have issues.
there's issues, mostly dealing with transformations, and I'm sure a lot of you will agree with that. But
But they did fix that in Infinite World, so maybe they're doing something similar to that, although in Burst Limit they removed the capsule system completely, I think.
so yeah, they replaced it with the drama piece system, which was clunky and weird. Um, I think just going off of ideal system I'd like to see would be like a Budokai 3 style leveling up system. Um, Stats, I don't think you need to go too overboard on the stats. I do think you do need to have room in for people to have different builds for your character. So you need to have more stats than you can max out. I know that sounds a little crazy that you won't be able to max out every stat, but then it will make people's own characters and own builds feel more unique. So I feel just in that sense, it's needed to not allow people to just max out everything.
Mm.
And if you're handling the core like power up stats like your health and your defense and your attack and stuff like that in the stats, then I think the items should be held over for more utility purposes, like reducing key cost, faster dashing around, faster key charging,
Random teleport.
random teleporting, things like that. Things that don't directly impact your stats but have some impact on how your character fights. Because I don't think you really necessarily need to have the items boost stats if you have the level up system taking care of stats as well.
What they also should do is make it more clear how you're leveling up compared to what Ultimate Tenkaichi did. They never did figure that out.
Well, it was the way you leveled up in Ultimate Tenkaichi had to do with which character was your current master, and they would impact your stat growth in certain ways.
Oh, right. And they had the weirdest stat growths for each master. Like Vegeta was bad at key attacks, and
I don't remember what each growth was, but since you unlocked masters by going through the game, it basically meant you couldn't customize the character you wanted until after you beat it and then started over again with everything unlocked, which is of course annoying.
yeah,
And
and I actually ever finished it mostly because it got really cheap with the AI at the end. Well, not the AI, mostly just if they hit you once,
yeah.
you're dead.
Well,
Much.
that's basically how it worked for you too in that game is you hit them, you could start comboing them forever.
No, that's true.
But one of the problems I actually had with the Budokai 3 leveling up system was if you decided to change your character's build, you had to start over again at level 1, and that was very annoying to have to grind out all the levels all over again.
So you'd like to see something that's easier to change in case you're not happy with your current set.
Well, I'd just be wondering, why not just have it where when someone levels up, it just unlocks the point, and then they can redistribute it however they want freely after that?
I'm trying to think of something that compares to that. I think like in Guild Wars 1 maybe, where you just get all of your points and you can redistribute them when you're in a hub town.
Yeah, so it'd be. I don't remember how Guild Wars 1 worked exactly, but yeah,
So it's
basically, where when you're on your downtime on your customization screen or whatever, you can just go to your stats and let's say you're like level 20, you have 20 points, and let's say you went, okay, I don't want to just be full defense now, so then you take like 10 points out of defense and put 10 points into attack that way, as opposed to having to reset and level back up to 20.
yeah, yeah.
Um, the only real I don't think it actually really has a real downside outside of people won't grind as much. I mean, because if you want to level up, if it works for the entire roster, not just the created character, then that means you still have to level up every character to max, and it would allow you to play around with exactly how you want your stats to be handled and everything.
Yeah.
And since it's something you have to do, like, let's say it's something you have to do, like, before you go to the hub city, where you can go fight with people, then that means once you're there in the battle zone sort of thing, you can't just redistribute your points to meet every single level you're going to or whatever.
Similarly, you would probably also like it if you could change your appearance on a whim.
Well, I think that was one of the things they still had in Ultimate Tenkaichi, thankfully.
You could, although I think could you change your voice as well?
I'm not sure. It's been so long since I've looked at that, honestly. It's not a game I've revisited, let me just put it that way.
Let's be nice about it.
So, the way the character creation. One thing I think is important is on the press release, at least for Namco of America. This is on their official page, so I'm not just making things up here. If you want the source for it, that's where it is. Namco America's official release when they announced this. They said Earthlings, Nameks, and Majins will be the races to name a few. Now, the way the language is there is it does make it seem like they will include more than just these three races.
It does sound like that. I'm hoping for maybe like a Frieza kind of race, but a general alien race would be plenty for me as well.
Just an
Although that's
alien that
probably
had a lot of customization choices to it.
yeah, pretty much. You can just go wild with I don't know a Kui head or just weird stuff.
Clearly, what you need is a Pui Pui head, because everyone loves really long heads. But yeah, it was if you had a sort of a mix and match thing with all the aliens in the series, that could be pretty crazy. Um, but yeah, just the way it's worded, if you weren't having if you was just using these three, you wouldn't want to leave it open like that. Getting back to what I said earlier about getting people's hopes up and then not delivering on it, kind of falls into that vein. And as the official announcement that you're putting out there for people is sort of the big press release of it, so you make sure that's worded just the way you wanted it to be too. So I'd say I'm hopeful for at least one other race, and all they have to do to make that statement true is show at least one other.
Yeah, I mean, they could potentially just release Saiyans, but it's looking to be like Earthlings and Saiyans would be one and the same race.
And
Nothing confirmed, of course, but
the reason for that, you know much more about this topic than I do, but mentioning
well,
that brings us to our last topic, which will be how similar this game looks to Dragon Ball Online.
yes, Dragon Ball Online. I imagine most people wouldn't really know much about this, considering this was only released in Korea and I think Japan for a short time, but or China maybe. Either way, it wasn't released in the West, so most people probably won't know much about this aside from it exists. What we can really tell about that game and this game is that a lot of the style and the character creation itself do resemble the Dragon Ball Online. Our first hint at this game being influenced by Dragon Ball Online was Time Patrol Trunks,
Yeah.
because you've probably noticed that Trunks is wearing a different uniform from his usual getup.
That you've ever seen him in before, no matter what time period you're looking at.
Yeah, I mean, it's different from his GT appearance, from his regular Z appearance. It's not even an adult version of his kid costume.
Nope.
It's different. It's a coat with a collar and stuff. I don't know. But yeah, basically, what uh, what this means is probably that a lot of the things that happened in Dragon Ball Online are going to carry over to this game, mostly because it's just new here and it already exists, so it's just easy to carry over. Let's see.
Well,
I could tell a bit.
let's
Mhm.
talk about the human Saiyan thing, because that's an important thing to cover.
Yeah. The part about that is that, as we all know, Saints pretty much were at the end of their lifeline, at the end of Dragon Ball Z. I mean, you have Goku and Vegeta as the last true Saiyans, and then you have the half-breeds, quarter-breeds, and
So on
go
and
on.
so on.
Yeah. It rapidly divulged into Saiyans not being they're not being, yeah, really any prominent Saiyans anymore. So Saiyans and humans kind of started intermixing, although the Saiyan part was very small in most Saiyans. Now, the thing with Dragon Ball Online, the character, the Time Patrol, no, wait, let me see. All right, the hub world in Dragon Ball Online, like the main world there, takes place in the year 1000, which is over 200 years after the end of Dragon Ball Z, and that's where Time Patrol Trunks. I should just call him Trunks. That's where Trunks sets up his base, and yeah, that's where he gets like the custom created characters from the MMO, and they are from different parts of time as I've read up. So they aren't exactly from that exact time period either. But yeah, they're basically all of the humans in that game are part Saiyan, and through a wish with the Dragon Balls, they can become Super Saiyan. So that's the way Super Saiyans exist in that world. They're humans who turn Super Saiyan, strangely enough.
So basically, that means we might have already seen the Saiyan race revealed to us, basically.
Yeah, humans and Saiyans, I imagine they're probably the same race.
And let's be honest, by the end of Z, there was the only real difference between a human and a Saiyan became the ability to transform.
Yeah, I don't think any Saiyan had a tail at that point.
You stop seeing tails in the Saiyan saga.
Pretty much.
I think the last person to lose their tail was Gohan, and it never came back.
I think there was maybe like an offhand comments about removing Trunks' tail, but that wasn't even on screen. So
I don't remember if this is true, so take this with a grain of salt. But I remember Toriyama said in an interview he forgot Saiyans had tails when the Buu saga came around with the design of Goten and Trunks.
oh, I wouldn't be surprised honestly.
Well, he forgot Launch existed, so
If it got Super Saiyan 2 existed. Yeah.
His memory
That's a,
sometimes.
oh, yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, so there's not much of a difference between humans and Saiyans. So just giving humans ability to transform is basically the same as having Saiyans in the game.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm happy with the addition of like Namekians and well the margin race, even though
Yeah.
I think it's a strange addition really, but
Well, we'll
hey,
get into the Majin one last. You have something horrifying to tell me about that, apparently. Um,
oh yes.
since you're the one who's knowledgeable about the history of this, why don't you cover the Namekians in Dragon Ball Online?
Well, Dragon Ball Online, they had the Namekians live on Earth in the year 1000. And the reason for that is because New Namek, believe it or not, got blown up. And by who you might ask? Well, Frieza apparently had like a cousin or a nephew, some sort of relative, and yeah, he did the same thing that Frieza did. So yeah, the Namekians really can't take a break on that one.
No, they apparently, no matter where they go, their planet gets blown up by Frieza's race, which means Earth is no, Earth will be fine. Frieza tried to blow it up and didn't work already, so I guess it already got its.
Yes,
I guess it already got
yeah,
its chance.
they're pretty much just living on Earth on a terraformed part of the planet. So it looks like Planet Namek, only it's out in what used to be a desert or something. I'm not entirely sure, but they're getting along with the humans at least.
Well, the desert would be over where Baba had her palace, I guess. That's the
Um,
only real big desert I can think of on the world map.
I think there's another one around the center of the world map, but yeah, can we really recall the entire world map? Well, most of it I probably can, but
It's mostly a lot of large empty spaces.
yeah, a lot of wasteland because
Yes.
fights like to happen in wastelands.
Which does mean, oddly enough, DBZ, for having giant fights that take place in the middle of wastelands, actually works based on its world map, as opposed to other series I think of, which I wonder why are there so many wastelands.
Yes, it does. Although I wonder when exactly they started creating a world map for the Dragon Ball world.
Um,
Maybe it was like after.
I don't know when it was created. I think the first time I actually saw it was in Budokai 3, and that map's stuck around since, so maybe it was before, maybe that's when they made it. I don't know, but
I think it was in one of the guidebooks at least, but
possibly. I don't
I don't know if they made that after. I mean, if they made the first official map after the series ended. Probably, I'd say yes, since everything is nice and spaced out where the events happen. But I don't know. I wasn't really reading Dragon Ball back in 91.
That was before the internet became what it is, which made it a lot harder to do such things as well. But
Yep.
got off a little off topic there. Hope it was still interesting. Um, the last race.
Yes, the Majin race. I actually read this a long time ago, I remember, but I just reread it now, and it's still just amazing how they managed to get an excuse basically for having a Majin race. So pretty much after Goku left to train with Oop, like Majin Buu and Satan or Hercule, however you like to call him, they started hanging out. Let me see. All right, and Boo, being now amongst humans, kind of got jealous about how humans have close relationships with each other. How, and it's actually worded differently. He got jealous of how humans had their sweethearts. So in eventually, Boo came across a book that was owned by Hercule named, let's see, a copy of Bob and Margaret, a controversial adult book. So Boo basically started reading porn, and from that he started to create a female Boo that was just his type.
Okay, I'm blaming
And
Jiraiya for this.
yeah, and it's he named her Booby, as in Bwby.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the puns are painful.
I know, I know. So he did this by removing a part of his body, basically, I imagine by taking his belly fat and then molding that into a wife for himself, and then hitting her with a love beam, causing her to give birth to a baby Boo.
Sure, why not?
And from there on, the population grew like wildfire, and eventually the world got yeah, inhabited by these margin people as well. They're an optimistic and joyful people who dedicate themselves to making fun days for others, so they can become dangerous when angered or confused.
So basically, they have the personality of Fat Boo.
Pretty much.
So they're not like Kid Boo or Super Boo or anything like that.
No, although that does raise the question because in Dragon Ball Online you have for each race you have a choice of different classes. And for the Majin race you have the choice between a Wonder Majin, which is let's see, I think that's the fat variety, the Majin Buu variety, while there's also the Mighty Majin, which is then kind of like the Super Buu, Kid Buu type of Majin. So I'm not sure how they're going to integrate this into this game because we have seen a fat boo variety. We've also seen a skinny boo variety. So maybe that means that there's going to be different classes. Maybe it's just an option in the
The
character
other thing
creator.
is the fat one was male and the skinny one was female. So it could
Yeah,
fall along
would-
gender lines as well. Although, given how
yeah,
the humans have different body types, I would guess the other races will as well.
I would guess as well. Although I've never really been clear because I've mostly seen like the skinny female variety for Dragon Ball Online. Although honestly, I haven't been looking at that game for a long time until this game finally started popping up with
Well,
its
it is
similarities.
also important to note that if it's based off Dragon Ball Online, that doesn't necessarily mean it is Dragon Ball Online.
Oh no, definitely.
So they could add things or not add things that were in Dragon Ball Online to Xenoverse. Taking inspiration and basing it off of is, as far as we can tell, they're doing now. Um, the storyline of the game could very easily be either very similar or the same.
It it
It's up in the air
it,
still.
I mean, it would be easy to just take the same story. I mean, it integrated with existing events fairly well. It basically came down to evil guy wants to take over the world in year 2000, but needs to do that in the past first. So he works together with Red Ribbon Army, Frieza's army, etc., in order to accomplish his goals, and he does that through mind control or something. Pretty much that's where you come in, where you try helping the Z fighters to fight the pretty much the stronger versions of the existing enemies.
So the basic plot is villain comes in, screws with past, you must go fix past.
Yeah, pretty much. And that's a fairly basic plot. And from the interview, it's possible that they use the same plot.
Well,
It's very vague
I
how they tell it in the interview.
I'm
So.
not saying that's a bad thing. Actually, if you can summarize the basic idea of what happens quickly, that's usually a good sign, because that means people will be able to understand and get into the story quickly.
Mhm.
Not to mention, it gives your created character a purpose and not just like necessarily just thrown into the story randomly. Like, where'd this guy come from? There's actually a reason why they're there and why
Yeah,
they're helping the heroes and why they actually had to be in that fight as opposed to just being there because you want your created character to be in interesting fights.
also it makes it really easy for you to know what's going on. I mean, you can just join a mission, and just from who's in the fight, you can immediately tell where you are, when you are. I mean, because we're fans. I mean, who honestly is going to pick up this game if they don't know the basic gist of the story of Dragon Ball Z? So very quickly, with very little information, they can just explain the situation to you, and although it's different a little bit. And that's where you just can kind of figure things out for yourself.
And we've played through the story so many times in so many games that
It
knowing
is from
what's going on
yeah,
is going to be a non-issue, really.
pretty much. You need very little information to know what's going on, and from that you can very easily make out what's different.
Like, for
And
example, you were talking about a screenshot that had Goku, a created character, Piccolo, and Raditz. From that screenshot, you know what's going on.
pretty much, you know which fight it is, when it happened. You know everything what you really need to know.
Yeah. So, I think that pretty much covers everything we need to cover. Do you have any final thoughts or things to share?
Final thoughts. It's well, this game's looking promising. That I can at least say. The character creator, the character creator looks awesome so far, and I'm curious to see what else we're going to see from it. Aside from that, co-op is still a bit vague, but I don't know. I'm open to it.
Well, let's be honest, the battle system in general is a little vague still.
Yeah, we've seen a few videos of how it works, but nothing really detailed as far as that goes.
No real detailed explanation or things, but of course with gameplay you basically need a demo to really you actually have to play it to really get a feel for it.
Yeah, to really mess around with it.
Yeah.
But we're not getting that until maybe a month, 2 weeks before it comes out.
Well, they had talk of a closed beta, so some people will have that.
Some people, not us.
Probably not. Yeah, my final thoughts. Yeah, certainly. The game is looking promising. Um, I don't think I have to say this in the way I have said about other, mostly Ultimate Tenkaichi and Battle of the Z, where I've tried to be optimistic about a game because I wanted it to be good. This one actually looks like it could be good. There are, like I said, there are still a lot of things we need to know about the game. Uh, Details are missing and how things will work, but we got a company that knows DBZ working behind it, so they don't have to like learn the series or anything like that. They already know the attacks and everything like that. Um, so yeah, I think some optimism for this game is actually warranted for the first time in a while.
Yeah, that does make me wonder though. In Burst Limit, what color is the special beam cannon?
Oh, I don't remember. You and your pet peeve.
You've pointed it out plenty of times as well.
Yeah, it's the solid color special beam cannon. It's multicolored.
Oh, okay, okay.
I
That's good
don't
to
no,
know.
I'm saying special beam cannon is multicolored attack. What color it is in burst limit, I haven't played a burst limit in a very long time, so I'd have to load that up again to remember.
Okay.
But yeah, okay. So hopefully we didn't bore you for too long doing this. Hopefully there was some interesting insights and comments. And if you have anything you want to say, feel free to post it in the comments. If you like this video, we'll think about doing another one in the future. Till then, so long.